Hank Aaron sent Richard
Great
Sherman
interview.
a tweet in support because the Seattle Corner has been criticized for his post-game interview on Sunday. Aaron, who rarely tweets, sent his 8th tweet to Richard Sherman, and it basically said, "Hang in there and keep playing as well as you did Sunday. Good job. You have my support." Well, he responded, "Thank you very much for your support. It is greatly appreciated and very humbling." So many ways to interpret those tweets, especially coming from such a historical figure in sports, as well as a person who has such gravitas in the African-American community. So, Stephen A., I ask you your thoughts.
Well, first of all, I deeply appreciated the great Hank Aaron saying what he had to say. I think it was apropos. I think it was necessary in its own way. And more importantly, I think it's more poignant than people realize. And here's why. When Hank Aaron had to endure some of the insidious things he had to do in chasing and ultimately eclipsing Babe Ruth's all-time home run record, we all know what he had to endure at that particular moment in time because of what it was, what it represented, and the sport he was participating in. It was important for Hank Aaron to be relatively silent. I don't want to say silent as in demure, timid, you know, that had nothing to say on it. I'm just talking about dignified. It was incredibly important because we were talking about something associated with America's national pastime. He was the antithesis of Muhammad Ali, who was involved in the sport of boxing.
Speak.
Had a lot of bravado, was in your face, was a member of the Nation of Islam, personified and epitomized black empowerment in a very, very different way. And obviously he was able to do that. Had Ali been involved in the sport of baseball, you think he was a pariah, you know, enough, it would have been on another level because being associated with America's national pastime had a different responsibility. What Hank Aaron did yesterday for Richard Sherman resonates with me profoundly because what he is doing is acknowledging that there's more than one way to skin a cat.
Sure is.
And that you don't have to emulate me specifically in order to have the same effect, to possess the same conscience, to have the same agenda. You don't have to be like me. You don't have to give off the ambiance of always walking with dignity and always saying and doing the right thing, or doing the right thing by not saying much. Sometimes you have to be somebody that's a rebel in order to get folks to listen to, acknowledge, and recognize things they otherwise wouldn't. And we all understand that. And I've often said this on this, and I've said this on numerous interviews that I have done. And it's not to knock or denigrate anybody. And people they just take it wrong. It's about a perspective. White folks come to work every day with a job to do. Black people, particularly in the public eye, with a public voice, come to work with a responsibility. And what we mean by that, Skip, is that black folks come up to us all the time. You got to say this. You got to speak on that. Don't let us down, because there's a paucity of voices for the voiceless. And as a result of that, when you're an individual that has been blessed with the opportunity to have the national airwaves available to you, whether it be as a football player, as a baseball player, as a basketball player, as a commentator, journalist, and pundit for ESPN, when you are placed in that position, there's a responsibility that comes along with it. And the black community doesn't talk about it much. But make no mistake about it, the responsibility is there. So when you look at a Richard Sherman and you see the road from Compton to Stanford to the NFL to being an All-Pro to playing in a Super Bowl, what Hank Aaron is saying is that look at all of those great things about this young man. Don't you for 1 second try to gloss over that because you don't like his attitude in the heat of competition on a football field and some soundbite he gave on television. He is worth far more than that, and he is far too important to our community and what we want resonated about our community than that soundbite. And that's why the great Hank Aaron saying what he said resonates so significantly, because somebody who appears to be the antithesis of a Richard Sherman in terms of behavior is speaking up for him to say we're one and the same. And that's very, very powerful.
We don't have
Why
to.
is Richard Sherman
As long as we get to
so
the
important
goal,
black
we ain't always gonna agree on how to get there.
Number one, he's educated. Number two, he's saying there are a lot of guys that are just like me. You see them in the street, you hear about them being in the hood, you dismiss them, you gloss over them, you act as if they're relatively insignificant or that their path has been determined. And society, by and large, gives up on us. He's reminding you, you shouldn't do that.